Each thing in this video could save you anywhere between $1,000 to upwards of $5,000. That's each thing. Altogether, it could save you $13,000 or more. So I think there's a lot of things in the wedding planning process that if you cut them out or do them yourself, it's kind of noticeable to guests. But there are a few things that are extremely high ticket items that you can totally cut out and nobody will even notice that they're not there. Hey blushing brides, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, congrats on your engagement. I'm so excited for you and I'm so excited that you're here. I'm Kyle James and I post new videos every single Wednesday on all things wedding planning. So if you're not already, be sure that you hit that subscribe button and let's talk about saving some money in places that nobody is going to notice. The first thing that you can cut out without your guests even noticing is a full service wedding planner. And this is my highest ticket item that you can definitely do without. So depending where you live, cutting out a full service wedding planner could save you like $5,000 or maybe even more. Now, I'm not saying you can just not hire a wedding planner and just forget about it and not worry about it. There are things that you definitely need to do if you are going to cut out your wedding planner. One of those being hiring a day of coordinator, but the price difference is still totally worth it. A day of coordinator will usually run you somewhere between $1,000 to maybe $2,000 or $3,000 depending on your location. But usually they will save you at least a couple grand. So everything I'm going to mention in this video, and pretty much everything in wedding planning and kind of in life, I guess, is a trade between time or money. So these things, if you are going to cut them out, they are going to save you a ton of money, but they are going to take you a little bit of extra time and effort. So if you do decide to forego the full service wedding planner and save yourself a couple grand, the very first thing that you need to do is get a wedding planner binder going so that you can stay organized. I have an entire video on this that I will link at the end of this video, so you should definitely watch that next if you are considering cutting out your wedding planner, just so that you can stay organized and make sure that you cover all of your bases, since you won't have that full service person there telling you exactly what you need to do when. But you can definitely plan your own wedding, especially with the help of a wedding planning binder. The next big ticket item could save you $2,000 or more, and that is opting for a DJ instead of a live band. And actually, there are a lot of pros to hiring a DJ instead of a band, but just one of those major pros is the difference in price. Personally, in the weddings I've planned, I've definitely preferred working with DJs and hiring DJs. I think it does make everything a little bit easier and a little bit less complicated. Bands can be fun, but they are a lot more expensive and they take a lot more planning. So just keep that in mind if you are trying to decide between a band and a DJ. But just purely from a price perspective, you're going to save a lot because a DJ is just one person. Maybe they have an assistant or something, whereas a band you have to pay all of the members and then you also will need an MC. So that is somewhere where you could save $2,000 or even more. The next place that you could save at least $1,000, maybe more, is not upgrading your rentals. So I think that this might be one of the most tempting places to spend money during your wedding planning process. Because we see all of these Pinterest shoots and all the stuff on Instagram that it's I want those crazy upgraded chairs and we need the chargers and the plates and the gold silverware and all that stuff. But honestly, the guests won't notice if you don't upgrade. Anywhere that you start adding costs on a per guest basis is going to multiply quickly. So if it doesn't seem like that much, if you're maybe adding $10 or $20 more per guest, when you're looking at the contracts and stuff, they are very great salespeople. But it doesn't seem like that much, $10 or $20 more. But if you multiply that times 100 or 200 or how many guests you have, you end up completely blowing your budget. And like I said, nobody is going to notice if you just have white plates and regular silverware. One thing I always suggest, if you really want that like Pinterest perfect scene, if you do want to upgrade rentals on your head table just for the photos, and that's where everyone's focus will be anyway, then you can still have your gorgeous like Pinterest perfect table scene without upgrading every single thing and spending a ton of money. And then also that's where all the photos are anyway. So if you're gonna upgrade, just upgrade the head table and maybe even just the sweetheart table, and keep everybody else's stuff at the minimum level, just because nobody cares and nobody's gonna notice, and it will save you a ton of money. The next place that you can save a lot of money without anybody ever noticing is in your photography. I do recommend hiring a great photographer, because that is how you are going to be able to look back on your memories. But you can minimize the photographer time. A few places that end up really adding on to your bill are like your getting ready photos, and then also each little event throughout your reception, so like cake cutting, bouquet toss, all of that stuff. You'll have your photographer there and you'll be paying them, and in between you might not actually be using them that much. You can minimize the time that you're actually paying your photographer and save yourself $1,000 or more here. So for getting ready photos, these are obviously very important, but instead of having your photographer there the entire time, you might just want to have them come at the very end, and you can like pose some pictures with makeup brushes and stuff if you really want those. But have them come at the very end when the bridesmaids are already all dressed and ready to go and you're about to get in your dress. Or you could even have your dress on and you could pose those as well. But you don't want to be paying your photographer to sit there and get ready with you for like 3 hours. The other thing that I recommend is to get everything out of the way at the very beginning of the reception. So first dance, parent dances, cake cutting, bouquet toss, anything that you're gonna do, try to get that in at the very front end of your reception. You don't really need the photographer there shooting party pictures the entire time. Like, you'll want a few and it's fun at the very beginning, but you definitely don't need to be paying them for hours of dancing photos. So try to get everything in at the very front end of the reception so that when your time is up with the photographer, they can just leave and they're not gonna miss anything important. I kind of like this flow more anyway, to like kind of try to get it all done up front, because you don't want to interrupt the dancing and interrupt the party and stop everything for people to watch you cut the cake or something. And you don't want to forget anything, especially if these little photo ops are important to you. You don't want to just get into dancing and then kind of forget. So try to get everything done up front, and then also minimize your getting ready time, and this will save you a small fortune on your photographer. Another thing along the same lines that will save you a ton of money and nobody will notice is not hiring a videographer. Just hire a great photographer. I know this is kind of up for debate, and a lot of brides will say they loved having their videographer and stuff, but honestly your guests don't care if you have a wedding video. And even if they do, if they like say something, everybody's only gonna watch that once and they're probably not even going to watch the whole thing. Like, think about how often you go through and actually watch your friends' full wedding videos. Not very often, especially if it's somebody who's just kind of like an acquaintance. So nobody's gonna notice if you don't, and I honestly don't think you'll notice either. You're not even gonna look through your photos that often, let alone sit down and watch a video. I love photos, and I think it's really important to have great photos of your big day so that you can look back and relive those memories, and also have them kind of around your house and stuff so that you can actually enjoy them. But honestly, a wedding video that costs you a couple grand sitting around on your hard drive somewhere is just not worth the money. Another place to save money that your guests will actually probably notice and appreciate is just having one venue. This could save you $1,000 and maybe even more, because you don't have to put down payments and you don't have to pay for the transportation in between and all the extra time that goes to each of the vendors and everything while you're trying to go between venues. I think that this maximizes the amount of time allotted for the wedding, so you can really take your time and soak in those memories and actually enjoy your wedding day instead of trying to rush to the ceremony venue and then take pictures in between and then get to the reception venue. I think that that makes it more complicated and is a big waste of time and a big waste of money. I say it saves you $1,000 probably just in venue fees, but it can definitely save you more by the time you add up like paying the extra time for the photographer, paying for all the transportation and all that stuff. So this is a place where you can definitely simplify. I think your guests will thank you because I don't love driving between different venues when I go to weddings. And it will also allow you to have more time of enjoying your actual wedding day. The next place where you can save a bunch of money without anybody noticing is DIY flowers. Doing your flowers yourself has become such a big thing that there are a lot of websites out there now that really make this process super simple. I think back in the day, doing your flowers yourself was this whole project and you had to figure out how much of each thing you need to order, and it was this whole pain in the butt thing that was not worth it. But now basically you go in, pick out the look that you want, they send you all the flowers, and then you do need to take the time, and it definitely takes time to put them together, but everything else is pretty easy and they end up looking great. It's like pretty hard to mess it up. So your guests definitely won't notice that you didn't hire a full service florist and saved a couple $1,000s on your flowers. If you save $2,000 on your flowers, you could literally get like double the amount of flowers than you would get if you hired a full service professional florist. And then one more place that you could save $1,000 or more, depending on what you get, is by reusing your flowers between the ceremony and the reception. So you're spending so much money on your ceremony flowers between the arch, your bouquet, and then all of your bridesmaids' bouquets. And those all are perfectly reusable in your reception. So if you think about it, you could probably save like $1,000 or more. I love reusing the flowers that you did on the arch on your sweetheart table or on your head table. That can look really, really beautiful. And then also, be sure that you reuse those bridesmaids bouquets. You're paying like probably $50 to $100 a piece for those. And so it's kind of silly to pay for actual centerpieces when you can just put an empty vase on each of the tables and have the girls just go drop their bouquets in there when they come into the reception. You really can reuse all of the flowers from your ceremony in your reception. Just be sure that you tell your day of coordinator exactly where you want each thing to go, and your guests won't even notice. One of the most expensive arrangements is your bridal bouquet, so you don't want to just throw that off to the side after photos. One of my favorite places to put this is get a big vase and put it up next to your cake. You could even just lay it on the table next to your cake, but that way people will see it and it will look great in photos, and it will kind of just get that extra mile out of how much you spent on your bridal bouquet. So there you have it. If you do the math on that, I think we come out to like $13,000 or $14,000, like minimum. If you are in a place where weddings do cost more, it could definitely save you a lot more. So I hope this video was helpful. Please give it a thumbs up if it was. If you're not already, be sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss any of my upcoming wedding planning videos. I post new videos every single Wednesday, and I have some really great stuff coming up that I'm super excited about. So be sure that you're subscribed for that, and we'll see you next time. Happy planning!